There are places where light enters easily, and there are places where something unseen lingers, heavy and silent. A home is not just walls and furniture. It is a living space of energy, shaped by thoughts, emotions, and actions. When harmony flows, life feels lighter. But when darkness gathers quietly, it begins to affect everything: young's peace, your sleep, even your fortune. There are signs, subtle but powerful. The first sign is a constant heaviness in the air. You may enter your home and feel tired without reason. Your body weakens, your mind becomes restless. Even after rest, you do not feel renewed. This is not always physical. Energy that is stagnant begins to weigh on the spirit. When arguments arise without cause, when silence feels uncomfortable instead of peaceful, this is a signal. The space is holding on to something it should have released. The second sign is repeated misfortune. Money comes, but it does not stay. Opportunities appear, but they fade quickly. Small problems grow into larger ones again and again. This is not coincidence alone. When energy is blocked or disturbed, it interrupts the natural flow of abundance. Life becomes a cycle of effort without reward. It feels as though something invisible is resisting your progress. The third sign is disturbance during rest. Sleep becomes uneasy. You wake up at strange hours. Your dreams feel heavy, confusing, or fearful. Sometimes you may feel watched even when alone. Night is meant to restore balance, but when the energy in your home is unsettled, even rest becomes a struggle. The mind cannot relax where the environment is not at peace. But understand this clearly: darkness does not stay where awareness awakens. To restore balance, begin with cleansing. Open your doors and windows. Let fresh air move through every corner. Light enters where it is invited. Remove what is broken, unused, or filled with old memories. Clutter holds stagnant energy. When you clear your space, you also clear your mind. Bring intention into your home. Speak words of calm instead of anger. Sit in silence for a few moments each day and allow your thoughts to settle. Where there is stillness, darkness cannot survive. Light a candle if you wish, not as a ritual of fear, but as a symbol of awareness. Even the smallest flame removes darkness completely. And most importantly, purify what cannot be seen. Younger state. A home reflects the one who lives within it. When your mind is filled with fear, anger, or attachment, it shapes the energy around you. But when you cultivate peace, patience, and clarity, your space transforms naturally. Do not fight darkness with fear. It only grows stronger that way. Instead, bring light through awareness, through simplicity, through calm presence. Because in the end, darkness is not a force on its own. It is only the absence of light. And where light is present, even in the smallest form, darkness disappears without resistance. Fix it now, not with panic, but with understanding. Not with force, but with balance. Your home can become a place of peace again. Heaviness in the home energy, feeling constant tiredness, restlessness, or unexplained tension inside the house is a sign of stagnant or negative energy. There are moments when a person walks into their own home and feels a weight they cannot explain. Nothing appears out of place, yet something feels off, as if the air itself has grown dense. The body becomes tired without effort, and the mind begins to wander without peace. You sit down to rest, but rest does not come. Instead, there is a quiet unease, a subtle discomfort that lingers in the background of your awareness. This heaviness is not always born from physical causes. It often arises when energy within a space becomes stagnant, unmoving, and burdened by what has been left unresolved. A home absorbs more than sound and movement. It quietly holds the echoes of every emotion expressed within it, every argument, every worry, every moment of sadness that was never released. Over time, these impressions gather, forming an invisible layer that begins to influence how you feel without you realizing why. When such energy is not cleared, it does not remain neutral. It slowly weighs upon those who live within the space, making even simple tasks feel exhausting and even peaceful moments feel incomplete. You may notice that small disagreements arise more easily than before. Words are spoken with irritation instead of understanding. Silence, which should bring calm, instead feels uncomfortable, as if something unseen is pressing against it. This is how stagnant energy reveals itself, not loudly, but through subtle shifts in mood and behavior. The home no longer feels like a place of refuge, but rather a place where tension quietly resides. The body, being sensitive to its surroundings, begins to respond. You may feel drained even after a full night's sleep. Your thoughts may become scattered, making it difficult to focus or feel clear. It is not that your strength has diminished, but that your environment is no longer supporting your natural balance. Just as fresh air brings life, stale air suffocates it. In the same way, stagnant energy dulls the vitality of the mind and body. But this state is not permanent, and it is not beyond your influence. The first step is awareness, simply recognizing that what you feel is not random. Once you become aware, you begin to reclaim control. Open your space to movement and light. Allow fresh air to enter, and with it, allow the old heavy energy to leave. Remove the items that no longer serve a purpose, for they quietly hold on to the past and prevent the present from flowing freely. As the space begins to clear, you will notice a shift, subtle at first but undeniable. The air feels lighter, your breath becomes deeper, and your mind begins to settle. Peace does not need to be forced, it naturally returns when what blocks it is removed. In this way, the heaviness fades not through struggle but through gentle, mindful action. Repeated misfortune and blocked flow when money, opportunities, or success don't stay despite effort. It may indicate disrupted energy affecting your life's natural flow. There are times when a person gives their full effort, works with sincerity, and still finds that nothing seems to remain in their hands. Money arrives, but it disappears just as quickly. Opportunities come close, yet they slip away at the last moment. Plans are made with hope, but they dissolve into disappointment again and again. At first, it may seem like bad luck or coincidence, but when this pattern repeats without clear reason, it begins to feel as though something unseen is interrupting the natural flow of life. Life in its balanced state moves like a steady stream. What comes has the potential to stay, grow, and multiply when conditions are right. But when the energy around you becomes disturbed or blocked, this flow is disrupted. It is like trying to fill a vessel that has unseen cracks. No matter how much you pour in, it never remains full. This is how repeated misfortune often operates, not as a single event, but as a cycle that quietly continues until its cause is understood. A home plays a deeper role in this than many realize. It is not just a shelter for the body, but a foundation for your energy. When the environment is heavy, cluttered, or filled with unresolved emotional residue, it begins to influence your decisions, your clarity, and your ability to act with focus. You may find yourself making choices that do not serve you, or missing opportunities that would have once been clear to you. It is not always that the world is working against you, but that your inner and outer environment are no longer aligned with flow and balance. This imbalance often shows itself through small but persistent obstacles. Bills may increase unexpectedly. Necessary things break or require repair. Plans face delays without obvious cause. You begin to feel as though you are always trying to catch up but never truly moving forward. Over time, this creates frustration and doubt, which only deepens the disruption. When the mind becomes filled with worry and tension, it further blocks the path for abundance to enter and remain. It is important to understand that abundance is not only created by effort, but also by the space that receives it. When your environment supports clarity and calmness, your actions become more aligned and your awareness sharpens. You begin to notice opportunities more clearly and respond to them with confidence. But when the environment is clouded, even the best opportunities can pass unnoticed or be mishandled. To restore this flow, one must begin by creating space both physically and mentally. Clear what is unnecessary, not only from your home but from your habits and thoughts. Let go of what no longer serves a purpose. Bring order to your surroundings, for order invites stability. When your space becomes lighter, your mind follows, and when your mind becomes clear, your actions naturally improve. As balance returns, you will notice that things begin to stay. Effort starts to bear visible results. What once slipped away begins to settle and grow. This is not magic, but the natural response of life when resistance is removed. In this way, the cycle of misfortune is gently broken and the flow of abundance begins again. Disturbed sleep and uneasy nights, bad dreams, waking up at odd hours, or feeling uneasy at night reflects imbalance in your home's energy. There are nights when the body lies down, yet true rest does not arrive. The eyes close, but the mind continues to wander through uneasy paths. Sleep, which should be a place of renewal, becomes shallow and disturbed. You may find yourself waking in the middle of the night without knowing why, your heart slightly unsettled, your thoughts unclear. At times, dreams become heavy, filled with confusion, fear, or strange images that linger even after waking. When this begins to happen often, it is not something to ignore, for it reflects a deeper imbalance between you and the space around you. Night is meant to restore what the day has taken. It is a time when the mind releases its burdens and the body regains its strength. But when the energy within your home is unsettled, this natural process is interrupted. The environment that surrounds you continues to influence your mind even in sleep. Just as a calm space brings peaceful rest, a disturbed space creates restless patterns that the mind cannot easily escape. You may notice that even after many hours in bed, you do not feel refreshed. There is a lingering tiredness that follows you into the day. Your thoughts may feel heavier, your patience shorter, and your focus weaker. This is not always because of physical exhaustion, but because your mind has not found true stillness. It has remained active, responding to the subtle tension present in your surroundings. Sometimes there is also a feeling that is harder to explain. A sense of being watched or not entirely alone even when there is no one around. This feeling does not come from what is seen, but from what is felt. It arises when the mind becomes sensitive to imbalance. When a space carries too much unresolved energy, it creates an atmosphere that the mind struggles to settle within. Silence no longer feels comforting, instead it feels filled with something undefined. Dreams, too, begin to reflect this disturbance. Instead of gentle and passing images, they become intense or unsettling. You may wake up remembering fragments that leave you uneasy, or with a sense of tension that does not easily fade. These dreams are not always meaningful in themselves, but they are signs that the mind is trying to process an environment that is not at peace. Yet just as this disturbance arises, it can also be eased. The first step is to bring calm into the space before rest. Reduce noise, dim the lights, and allow the environment to soften. Let your surroundings reflect the stillness you wish to experience within. Fresh air, clean space, and gentle quietness prepare the mind to release its activity. It is also important to prepare your inner state. Before sleep, allow your thoughts to slow down. Do not carry the worries of the day into the night. Sit for a few moments in silence, observing your breath, letting each thought pass without holding on to it. When the mind is given this space, it begins to settle naturally. In time, rest becomes deeper, gains its purpose as a place of renewal. The night no longer feels heavy but peaceful and restoring. And when you wake, there is a sense of lightness, as if both the body and mind have been gently cleansed. This is the natural state that returns when balance is restored within both the home and the self. Physical cleansing restores balance, opening windows, removing clutter, and allowing fresh air and light into the home helps clear stagnant energy when a space feels heavy or unsettled. The first step toward restoring balance begins not with force but with simple, mindful action. The physical environment holds great influence over the unseen flow of energy. What you keep around you, how you arrange it, and how freely air and light can move through your home, all of these quietly shape your state of mind. When a place becomes filled with unused items, broken objects, or things tied to old memories, it begins to hold on to the past. This creates a kind of stillness that is not peaceful but stagnant. To restore harmony, begin by opening what has been closed. Let fresh air move through every room, every corner. Air that flows carries away what has been sitting too long. Light too has a quiet power. When sunlight enters a space, it brings warmth and clarity, dissolving the dullness that gathers in darkness. Even a small window, when opened regularly, can begin to change how a room feels. These actions may seem simple, but they create movement, and movement is the beginning of renewal. Next, turn your attention to what surrounds you. Look carefully at the objects in your home. Notice what is no longer useful, what has been left untouched for a long time, what feels heavy when you see it. These items are not just physical, they carry impressions of time, of emotions, of moments that have already passed. When they remain without purpose, they quietly anchor your space to what no longer serves you. By letting them go, you are not losing something, you are creating room for something new to enter. Cleaning is more than removing dust, it is an act of clearing energy. As you wipe, arrange and organize, you are bringing order to your surroundings. And where there is order, the mind begins to settle. A clean space invites clarity, making it easier to think, to breathe, and to feel at ease. Even small changes, a cleared table and organized corner can begin to shift the atmosphere in noticeable ways. You may also choose to introduce gentle elements that symbolize calm and awareness. A simple light, such as a candle, can serve as a reminder of presence. It is not the object itself, but the intention behind it that matters. When you light it, do so with a quiet understanding that you are inviting clarity into your space. In that moment, your attention becomes focused, and the environment responds to that awareness. As these changes take place, the space begins to feel lighter. What once felt heavy starts to loosen its hold. The air becomes easier to breathe, the silence more comforting. This transformation does not happen through struggle, but through steady, conscious action. In clearing your home, you are also clearing a path for balance to return, allowing peace to settle naturally where it always belonged. Inner peace transforms outer space. Your thoughts and emotions shape your environment. Calmness, awareness, and positivity naturally remove darkness. A home is not only a physical shelter, but also a reflection of the mind that lives within it. Every thought, every emotion, every habit leaves a subtle imprint on the environment over time. When the mind is calm, the space feels open and light. When the mind is disturbed, the surroundings often begin to feel the same. This is why true transformation of a home does not begin only with external cleaning, but also with the inner state of the person who lives there. Inner peace is not something that must be forced. It arises naturally when the mind is allowed to slow down and release what it has been holding. Many disturbances in life are not caused by the world itself, but by the constant noise within our thoughts. Worries about the past, fears about the future, and attachment to outcomes all create tension that silently shapes how we experience our surroundings. When this tension is present, even a quiet home can feel restless. As awareness deepens, one begins to notice how emotions influence perception. Anger can make a space feel tight. Anxiety can make it feel unsettled. Even sadness can seem to linger in the corners of a room. These are not physical changes, but energetic impressions created by the mind. When these states are repeated over time, we become part of the atmosphere we live in. This is why cultivating inner calm is so essential for restoring harmony in the environment. The process of transformation begins with observation. Instead of reacting to every thought or emotion, one can simply notice it. When anger arises, it is seen but not fed. When worry appears, it is acknowledged but not expanded. In this way, the mind slowly begins to settle. As mental activity reduces, clarity naturally increases. With clarity comes better decisions, more balanced emotions, and a lighter sense of being. this inner shift begins to reflect outwardly. The way you move in your home becomes gentler. Your actions become more intentional. Even your interactions with others change, becoming more patient and understanding. The space around you starts to respond to this shift. It feels less tense, more open, more supportive. What was once heavy begins to soften, not because the external world has changed first, but because you have changed within. True peace does not depend on removing every challenge from life. Instead, it comes from developing the ability to remain steady within those challenges. When the mind is stable, the environment loses its power to disturb you. You begin to experience your home not as a source of tension, but as a place of rest and restoration. Over time, this inner clarity becomes the strongest form of protection. It does not fight darkness, it simply removes the conditions in which darkness can exist. In this way, both the mind and the home return to their natural state, quiet, balanced, and deeply at ease.